They don't really show any emotion. They don't really get involved with other people's problems, and they tend to keep to themselves. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can deal with cold people in your own life, actually get them to open up and express themselves to ultimately improve your life and their lives in the process. They give off the vibe that you are almost non-existent. Cold people have this uncanny ability to actually give off the vibe that you do not exist, you do not really matter, and they do not care about you. However, that's more or less what we feel about them. What exactly makes cold people come off like that? Why do we feel like cold people are so unattached? How do they actually function? Well, it may actually be that they are introverts. It may be that they are protecting themselves. They are doing things a certain way because they are accustomed to it. They usually choose jobs that do not really have them involved with a lot of people. They enjoy being with themselves and they enjoy being alone. Now, if you want to understand how a cold person thinks or functions, you need to understand why they actually behave this way. A cold person usually does that not because they are really unaffectionate or do not really engage in a lot of emotion themselves. They just have their own reasons and they've gotten used to it. Typically, this is because of something that happened in the past, which may be an internal conflict that happened when they were a kid, or certain experiences that made them feel like, hey, I don't really have to express myself to you. Or it may be something that has to do with the outward persona that they are trying to project, that is to tell people that, you know what, I don't really want to get involved. They have a fear of involvement, or they don't really feel like their opinion matters. That, hey, I have my life, you have your life. I think I'm just going to keep my distance from you. This may also be the kind of message that they are trying to put across. However, all said and done, it may just be that they come off as cold, that they look like they are being cold, or you perceive that they are cold more than anything else. Cold people have their own reasons. It's not for us to judge. However, once you understand that the overall simplicity of why they behave this way, using 3 different examples that I'm going to give you, then you'll understand that cold people aren't so bad and how you can actually get them to open up. Now remember that a cold person usually is or doesn't seem very empathic. They aren't really trying to open up and communicate a message that they have on the inside. This is usually due to 3 different reasons. It may be because, number 1, they are behaving in the first person, second person, or in the third person. As someone who is behaving in the first person, they know what it's like. If you want to use the same example of what empathy actually stands for, knowing what it's like to be in someone else's shoes, well, they are in their own shoes when they are in the first person. They know what it's like to be emotionally involved. They do not like to actually go deep down into those shoes that, oh, I've been there. I know exactly what it feels like. It may be that this pain is too strong for them to handle. So they just tell themselves, hey, you know what? I am in my own world. I don't really want to step back into my shoes. I've been there. Now let me just be on my own. This may be the kind of vibe that they really feel. And at the same time, this is the person who is really self-aware. And this is where their experience comes into play, that I am angry, I am afraid, I am disappointed. Now that self-awareness causes them to not really perform or show any kind of external expression that I am angry. It's just a blank look that they give off, which may make you feel like, oh, this person is really cold. This person is not really emotionally expressive or affectionate. Now, in the second person, the same person realizes that you have been through something, that you are going through some kind of problem. And for them to step into your shoes and see exactly what you are going through, That reminds them of their own personal experience of being in the same situation, and they just don't want to feel that pain again. That's why they just distance themselves and they are probably on their own. So that's in the second person, where they don't really want you to actually step in or know what it's like to be like them, because it's too problematic for them. They've either repressed that particular piece of information, suppressed it, or really don't want to deal with that piece of information anymore. And that's why they like to distance themselves from you, or they seem cold because they don't want to really get involved in that pain. In the third person, however, it's almost like they are in no one's shoes. They are telling you that, you know what, where's the proof that that is actually true? I don't really believe that. And that's why they don't consider your opinion or the opinion of what you are actually trying to communicate. They have their own skeptical mindset that this isn't actually true. This is probably false. And that's where it's important to understand, because they are shunning an opinion that isn't necessarily associated with them. That's why they come off as cold, that they don't really attach themselves, or they do not believe what you are saying associated with a third party conversation. So what does all of this mean to you? It's all in the simple fact that each and every person who seems cold is cold due to their own reasons, or they come off as cold because that's the persona that you are perceiving. That is what you believe a cold person is actually trying to do. What are they? Who are they? And what are they actually doing? Well, you don't really understand all of that stuff unless you go up to them, you ask them to open up and try to understand them a little better. And that's exactly how you deal with a person who is cold. You tell them that, you know what, what's your analysis of the situation? Ask them these three simple questions. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you believe? What is your perspective on the situation? Remember that for the most part, that a cold person likes to work alone, likes to be alone, or just enjoys that sense of, being disconnected from other people. They are happy the way they are. It just could be that. But at the same time, if you are, employing someone like this, or if you are in a relationship of some sort with this person, it's important to have that connection with them so that you can get to know them better and they can build something of a connection with you. Because at the end of the day, we are all social animals, and somewhere, someplace, we need to have some sort of connection at some point of time in our lives so that we can derive more meaning from this life. So having said that, if you want to actually get through to them, ask them those inner process questions. What do you think? What do you feel? And what do you believe? When you do that, you get their analysis of the situation, you get their perspective, and this actually forces them to think, go down to the inside. But at the same time, there's a way of putting this information across, because they may have their own reasons. Remember that a cold person may be cold because it had to do with a lot of pain from the past. And you want to make sure that you are there to ease that pain, if that's the reason why they are behaving in a cold fashion in the first place. So be very mindful of where that person is coming from. Give them enough room to actually express themselves. It may so happen that every time you do this, they may cry, it may cause the floodgates to open, and they totally leave themselves exposed because they are showing you a part of them that they haven't really shown anyone else. These are the people who are kind of, you get stuck with them, you aren't able to get through. It may be a child that you're trying to really push a message across to, but they really don't understand what you're saying. So essentially, if you want to get this entire concept down, make sure that you understand where a cold person is coming from. There's a point where your own empathy, they need to feel it, or they need to feel like this person really gets me. If you can actually create this environment for them, then they are likely to open up. Then they are likely to contribute. They are likely to show a side of themselves that they have not desired to show anyone else. You could be that person. You could be that person who actually gets them to do something that they never thought possible. And remember, being cold is a matter of perception. Maybe they have their own friend circle, they have their own group of people where they like to open up. They have different methods of expressing themselves that doesn't necessarily involve verbal communication or speaking. It may be that they like to write or do something else. Your goal is to nothing but give them that space, give them that environment where they can open up, ask them different questions. Remember, those who ask the questions, they are the ones who control the conversation. So if you want to get through to a cold person, you need to keep asking those questions in a gentle but a way that you nudge them. You don't push them, but you nudge them. Nudge them all the time to ultimately say, hey, you can express yourself in front of me. If you can do this much, you have dealt well with a cold person. If you found this video useful, comment down below and tell me exactly what part of all of this you're going to use. Are you going to ask them the questions? Are you going to ask them for their analysis? How are you going to try and communicate with a cold person? Who is the cold person in your own life? Comment down below and tell me. If you found any of this content useful and you want to know more, hit the I button and check out the entire playlist that I have made about 52 different kinds of people, and maybe even more than that, how you can actually deal with different kinds of people in your own life. Remember, people buy from people, and if we are to develop ourselves and the lives of other people, we need to learn how to communicate with them. Looking for all of this and more, become the best version of yourself and perform like a champion. I am here to make that happen for you. Subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and watch all of the videos that I'm putting out for you. This is Vikram signing off, and I will see you in the next session.